So now that we have our index.html file, the next thing we want to do is get this hosted. And there are many ways that you can host a website online, and I'll get to those in a later video, but for this video I want to focus mostly on the basics and how do we host this locally on our own computer. So I'm going to go over to the terminal, and so the terminal's on my left, and on the right you can see the index.html file loaded that we had from a previous video. And if in our terminal, you can see that I'm currently in the directory where the index.html file is. If I type python -m SimpleHTTPServer, this will start a simple HTTP server on port 8000. And this is the quickest way I know to start up a local HTTP server. And if you don't have Python, don't worry about it. This is mostly just to get the basics of how does a server work from a local environment and how do files kind of get served up to you in your browser. So to demonstrate this, if you go over to your website here on the right, open up a new tab and type in localhost 8000, you'll see that we get back to our HTML file. So this is where the naming conventions take place. So the fact that we called the index.html file, when we hit a server, it'll by default look for that by convention. And to illustrate that point, if we were to go back to our text editor, and let's rename this to not index.html file. Then flip back to our website and just hit refresh. So now you can see we're not getting served up anything anymore because it doesn't know what to go to by default. It looked for an index.html file, couldn't find it, so it's just going to give you a directory listing, and you can see the files here, and you have to click it, but that wasn't the default action that it took. Now on the left here, we can see we're getting these 200 requests, and that just means that when we hit enter here, we request this file, the server could correctly find it and display it. So that's why we're getting these 200s. So if I looked for not index2, see here on the left, it says code 404, which means the file was not found. So if we go back, switch that to HTML, you should get a 200 request. So that's just to illustrate how files are served up and how they're found. So let's go back and reset this to be index.html to follow the convention. That way when we come back here and just hit our server port, it serves it up 200, no problem. Doesn't have to go to a directory, and it serves up the file by default. Now, this is visible only to your computer, but since we're serving this up on a server on port 8000, this is actually visible to any computer in your house, or I guess anything connected to your router at the moment. So to illustrate that as well, we're going to open up a new tab here and type in ifconfig, get a bunch of goop here, but what we're interested in here. So go to en0. Under here you'll find inet, and you'll find an IP address that looks something like this. So if you copy that, paste that over here, that's the same as what your local host is. So if we were to do :8000 again, we'll get back to our website. And the neat thing about this is if you were to copy and paste this into any browser on any of the PCs on your network, you should be able to see this. So essentially you're hosting a website internally on your own internet. Now this isn't visible to anybody outside of your own network. So if you were to give this URL to a friend and they were to hit it from their house, they obviously can't see that.